Tegenaria. I'm probably not gonna say this again. And by the way, this is for marketing that this name exists, confirmed by GameSir themselves, because technically this is called the T3 Lite and is part of the same line as the Tarantula, which is a T3 Pro. What I would consider to be GameSir's first proper take at retro. It's even called in the name of the color because they do have two options, the retro gray and the serene white, but here we have the retro gray. Clearly this is modeled after the PS1, PS2, but this will not work for your PlayStation. This will work for PC, Switch, Steam, iOS, and Android. And by the way, this was sent for review. That has no impact on my opinions. No money change hands, and they see the video at the same time as everybody else. Let's unbox it. Hall effect sticks, membrane buttons, analog membrane trigger, nice. So I'm excited to see how that's gonna feel. Asymmetrical motor, so rumble, rotary. Two mappable back buttons, textured grip in the back. Now this is also a wired only controller, and this is really all we have with this controller. Now do keep in mind, if you don't know, this is retailing for $19.99. If there are cost saving measures, that's definitely the controller to do it. Here we have their thank you brochure. We don't even have a manual. So there's a QR code on the box. However, if you're trying to see it for yourself, here it is. And look, it even says T3 Lite user manual, so I wasn't lying. So yes, if you're trying to see the manual, just scan this with your phone and it should lead you straight to it. We have a connector that comes attached, much like old school controllers, so we're not able to swap it. If it rips, oh well, too bad. Maybe you can strip it and redo the connections. Very much a connected cable, and quite a long one. Port here, this is a USB 2.0 port, logically speaking, so I'm curious to see how it's going to do in terms of pulling rate and latency. Very light, super light. In fact, I could probably swing that over someone's head and it probably wouldn't hurt all that much. Oh my gosh, yes. Oof. This is a very noisy. It's not a quiet controller, you'll see during the audio test, but it's a very nice feeling membrane face buttons. A little bit of glossy. I don't think the original PlayStation controllers had that, but it does feel nice. You do have the color scheme here to remind us of the PlayStation layout, but we're seeing a standard North American style that we have here with A at the bottom, B on the right, and yeah, you know how that goes. Oh man, that feels like the traditional select start membrane. Let's go. Feels great. We have a nice membrane D-pad with a not split per se, but with the split style membrane, stiffer shoulder buttons, and those nice triggers with no dampening at all. Fairly high tension as well, where I feel like we're not used to seeing triggers with that much tension anymore. Very nice stick. So we don't have anything like metal ring or anything like that, but we do have an anti-skid around it, and we have our mode button and then our two back paddles. Either they're a muted tactile or they're a super duper stiff membrane. I would assume they're probably tactile. Does it say on the box? It doesn't mention, it just says two back buttons, but yeah, I think they're just muted tactile buttons. All in all, they feel good. And we see here L4, R4. I would assume that's probably a reset pinhole. Let me go ahead and plug it. I don't think this one is supported with any app, but we'll look it up.
A few moments later.
And indeed, we don't have software. We do have a few shortcuts on the controller, which we'll look into in a second. The cable is quite long, probably about 2 meters long, give or take. And with that said, we'll jump straight into audio test. Okay, so one thing I was surprised to see, which, by the way, I said select start, but this is actually captured, this is actually home. That caught me off guard. This is your select, this is your start. And usually with wired or dongle controllers from GameSir, when you hold both, it switches mode. So right now we are on the Xbox mode. I don't know if it will do it on this one. Well, that's a surprise. It doesn't. So the only way that to switch modes on this controller is usually the operation from Bluetooth, if you're familiar with that. And you want to hold home and one of the face buttons. So now we just switched to, okay, so that would be a D input mode. Home and B will give you a Sony PS4 DualShock mode, noise. Home and Y will give you a switch mode, so that will work on your docked Switch as long as you use the USB-A or if you use a connector to convert it. And then Home plus X sends us back to the Xbox X input mode. Very good overall. All right, let's do the testings. Oh, actually, real quick, you still have the mode plus a button. You'll see that it flickers here. That means that I'm currently on turbo, as you can see here, and you can remove it by repeating. You can also do the back paddle by holding M and the back paddle. So now it's ready to record an input. So if I just do X and push again, it does X. If we repeat the process and just do nothing and push the paddle again, it's gonna remove the value. We can use that to do double buttons, as you can see here. We can also do that to do macros up to, I believe, 12 inputs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 inputs. So macro, double button, remapping, all can be done with a shortcut. You also have a little bit of stick value always pointing in the 8 directions. So that's for your back paddles. Can we swap the layout? I would assume so. If we hold M, and A, yeah, that just rumbled. And that lets me know that now the layout is changed. So you'll see now that it would follow essentially a pattern from the switch, but we cannot change the physical buttons. I'm gonna remove it. Let's see, even though we don't have a physical hair trigger, maybe we have a software hair trigger. It's usually typical with GameSir controllers. So let's hold M and hold the trigger for a while. Oh, interesting. We don't have that feature. We only have turbo on the triggers, no hair triggers whatsoever. Okay. We can, however, address the RGB. If you hold M and do up or down with your left stick, it's going to change the brightness. Now I'll put a little bit of it, but if you hold M and do the right stick, we can change the colors. Some colors are not coming through because it's quite bright, but you can change the color if you want to match whatever aesthetic you're trying to go for. For the sake of seeing the beautiful colors, I'm going to remove it altogether. Starting with stick trimmer, and we don't have any of it. Axis snapping, we don't have any at all. Stick snapback, yes we do. For sticks, I believe we don't have raw. Let me just check just to be safe. Oh no, we do. We actually do. So if you hold home and hold the stick, it'll change from a raw to a circular corrected. So that's your raw stick, and that is your corrected. Pretty good average. Inner dead zone, we barely have any, but I noticed if you put the raw, they left it at no dead zone at all, so it becomes very sensitive. But if you leave the corrected, there definitely is not only inner dead zone, but there's also a gap dead zone. Now that is only when you're putting the corrected stick. If you leave it raw, there's no gap dead zone whatsoever. Outer dead zone, we have a little bit of it, not a whole lot, but we do. And on the corrected, we do as well. So there probably is a range at the outskirts where the module can't read. Stick tension, we are at 60 TGF. And oh wow, stick resolution, we are at 0.0005 steps. Impressive. I did not expect that. However, I'm noticing something now. I do see tremor now that I activated the raw. If I leave it corrected, there is no tremors at all at the center point. That said, the steps are so low that even if you have tremor, you're not going to see that being translated in a game because the step is so little. I did not expect to have this great a quality stick on this controller. Wow, that's quite impressive. Okay, let's continue. For diagonal focus, not necessarily the easiest to do because we have a fairly stiff membrane. Usually I find that I do a little bit better with diagonal focus, but the membrane is fairly stiff. Feasible, maybe not 100% accuracy. Rolling test feels good, and we have corners that are pretty smoothened out, so that feels nice. Adjacent directions. Maybe not the best. Like you can see some flickers here. Yeah, maybe not the ideal for adjacent directions. Accidental inputs. Yeah, I figured. We don't really have any, and I would assume that because of the design, it's less likely to happen. When going left and right, however, because it's an always hot pivot, which we'll talk about in a second, it's maybe more prone to happen. Center pivot. We do have one, but it's hot. Like it's always, there's always a tension on that D-pad. And actioning from the center is very easy to do, first because of the shape, and second because it's always under tension. But you still have to press a little more. For example, I just reviewed the Nova 2 Lite. You still have to push a little more with this one. Trigger, let's see. We definitely have a little bit of dead zone at the beginning of the trigger. We also have a little bit of it at the end. You know, the thing is, because this is not a Hall effect trigger, I'm actually happy that we have dead zones on both ends, but we do have a little bit more at the start than we do at the end. If someone was to tell me that there's dampening on this controller, I probably wouldn't believe them. What I feel rather is the tension of the coil that they probably use being analog membrane. And that coil, like you can feel the more you push the tension, the more tension you have, like it was the case with old school controllers, not as much with modern Hall effect or TMR triggers. And then looking at hair trigger, there's basically none. Considering what I've been experiencing thus far, I think this controller will actually do good in aiming. All things considered, it feels quite good. I'm realizing something as I'm using this controller, especially not having any hair trigger of any kind. It's so light that as I push the right trigger, you may see a little bit of a juke on my view. Like basically I'm removing the balance as I'm pushing the trigger. That's probably going to be the hardest thing to manage because you sort of have to hold on to it. You have to grip it. But as far as the modules, the tension, I am shocked. I just reviewed the Nova 2 Lite, and oh my gosh, my first attempt, like you can see these are my scores from the Nova 2 Lite that I literally did, a couple of hours ago. I just beat my first score with my first attempt. Dang, those sticks are good. Like if it wasn't for the little juke that I'm getting, I think I would break the 30,000. In fact, I think I will in the next 2 runs. Ugh, so close. Okay, I'm gonna do something different for my 3rd run. I'm actually gonna remap my back left paddle to the trigger. Well, I tried, not quite. It didn't work as I expected. But man, this controller is shockingly good for aiming too. Huh. Before we go any further, I just wanted to show that there is no gyro on this controller. Right now I'm on the Nintendo Switch mode and no gyro at all. Man, it's been a minute since I've had a controller feel like that. It's sending me back. Definitely works better for me. I wouldn't go as far as saying flawless, but yeah, I'd see myself using that D-pad for sure. Feels real good. And for platformers, that ought to feel nice as well. Yeah. Those stiff, clunky sounding membrane, which I love, by the way. This is not me complaining. This is exactly what I feel is the best for platformers. It just feels good. It bounces so fast. Like the only thing that could be better than that are basically optical or like very good quality micro switches. This is way up there. You're gonna love this controller, and because it has the D-pad up top, it's also gonna be just more comfortable for platformers as a whole. My ultimate D-pad test. Oh man. Wow, that is perfect. This is moving when I wanted to move. Man, this is good. You know what? Oh, geez. Okay, I'll stick it to the conclusion. But look, that was my first attempt. That says it all. Wow, 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 wow. Do have a nice graduality with the triggers. Now that one might be tough. Like right now, I guess it's good for locking because right now I can feel the trigger pushing against my finger because it's so stiff. So, you know, that could be good for locking it in, but for long duration, like if you play hours and hours on end with a controller playing racing games, I feel like this does not reflect what a lot of people have been used to in the past couple of years. So that might be challenging to work with. There's also fairly sharp edges on the corners of those triggers. So I don't know that for long duration it's going to be ideal. Like there is so much on this controller that is taking me aback because it's so good. I'd say the triggers is probably one where it doesn't shine as much, be it for racing or something else. Not that they're bad or anything, they respond very nicely, but you can tell that it's nice for nostalgia, like for the retro feel, absolutely. For precision in modern style gaming, I don't think they're the best triggers on the market. All right, let's move towards performance. My gosh, look at those numbers. GameSir just said, I don't care. Like, usually Switch does not perform at 1000 hertz polling rate, but no, everything is so fast, so swift. That controller is on steroids when it comes to its polling rate. So stable, no matter the mode, even the input. Honestly, this is quite shocking. Wow, wow, wow performance. Wow. Okay. I did not expect that. Oh, and by the way, it feels good. It feels like a traditional PlayStation controller, except there's just a little bit of texture in the back for, you know, a better hold, a better grip. Look, I'll go straight and address the only con that I have with this controller, and truly it is unfortunate. It's not a big one, but it's one I wish I could do without. The only con I have with the T3 Lite, I'm not even gonna try it again, is the cable. I don't mind that it's connected if it would be lighter. It's a heavy cable. All the time that I was using this, like, it's one of those where, you know how people use bungees for mouse? I'd want a bungee for this cable. So I wish, rather than having something always connected, that they allowed us to just have it disconnected so that we can use our own braided light cable. I'm being so picky here because the reality is, chances are you're probably not buying this controller for aiming, but here's the shocking thing about it. You absolutely can, because it works so good for aiming as well as everything else. Yeah, dude, I just reviewed the Nova 2 Lite. If I had done the T3 Lite before, I would have been harsher on the Nova 2 Lite. Not that the Nova 2 Lite is bad, it's not bad, but this, if you like the symmetrical layout, once again, GameSir has been like, yo, you guys don't have controllers? Let us hook you up. $20 for this. Take it from someone that has 100+ controllers. This is a killer and should be part of every collection. Wow, great work, GameSir. Phenomenal one. And yeah, T3 Lite reviewed. Oh, as always, if you have any comments, make sure to drop them in the comment box. Consider hitting the like and the subscribe to not miss any future content. Peace!